Hello everyone, it's Jen. Welcome back to another project for LDRS Creative. Today I'm going to be creating 10 cards using the Veggie Pals stamp set, which is super cute, has a bunch of fun sentiments that coordinate with the little Veggie Pals. I have the coordinating dies as well, and I love that on the back of the stamp sets they have the images colored for inspiration. I'm also going to be using the Farmer's Market 6x6 paper pad. There's 24 sheets in this, 12 designs, and you get 2 each. So I'm just going to show you a quick flip through of the pattern paper. I did use most of these, leaving out this one here with the yellow and then the strawberry paper here. It just didn't quite go with the veggies. So we're going to move along and jump into card number 1. I did pre-color all the images and cut them out. I'm just going to show you here a close-up of all my little veggies ready to go for the cards. And here is card number 1 using the little cob of corn. So I am going to be using sketches today for all of the cards. I thought it would be fun to just challenge myself to using sketches for these cards. Also, the pattern paper is quite vibrant in color and has a lot of bold patterns, so I thought the sketches would really help me out. So I will have all of the sketches to the top right hand corner. This one happens to be one from OWH, and I thought it went perfectly with the quilted squares that was in one of the pattern paper. So I just went ahead and cut that out with my stitched square die, the one that fit it the best, and I cut out 4 of those, and I'm just adhering those to a piece of regular white cardstock. Everything that I am using today will be listed down below with links to all the products for you to easily access if you want to see them up close. I also cut out a stitched circle here. This is from, well, the squares and the circles are from the LDRS little mini sets, which are really great to cut out elements for your cards. I brought in the ink here. This is one of the new hybrid inks in Marina Madness, and I just added a little bit of blue ink behind my piece of corn here, just so he stands out a little bit on that white cardstock. So now I'm just going to go ahead and add my square pattern to the top, and then I have the long rectangle to the bottom there with just another piece of the pattern paper, and I did add that on top of some yellow cardstock. For the sentiment, I'm using "You Are Amazing," and the pattern that I'm using for the sentiment is a die from the LDRS Scalloped rectangle frames set. Just adding a little bit of Nouveau glaze here to the eyes and the mouth, and card number 1 is done, and we're going to move on to card number 2. I loved this farmhouse pattern paper, so I picked out this sketch from Queen & Company, and I went ahead and cut the pattern paper that I'm using for the focus of my card at 3 inches. So I was able to get 2 of these panels with the 1 sheet of pattern paper, and I will show you I did create a second card like this here when I'm showing you the close-up of the card complete. I cut out a stitched scalloped border, and I used a piece of that barnwood paper, which was really pretty, and I think that picked up with the little barn on the pattern paper as well. Using a scallop here as well as a stitched circle, and I'm going to use that as the focal panel for my little veggies. So I'm going to use 3. I'm going to use the broccoli, which is so cute with his little muscles showing off there, and I'm also using the tomato with the corn on the cob as well here for this card. So I'm just going to have the 3 of them kind of clumped together here. They look like they're having a little party in the farm field. For the sentiment, I'm going to use the sentiment that says "You complete me," and I will bring out my mini MISTI for that. I'm going to stamp that to the top left-hand corner. Now I did bring in some of these hearts that I die cut out of the barnwood paper as well, sort of to mimic that flower in the sketch. In the end, I decided to leave them off for this card, but you'll see in the second card I did like this using the same sketch. I did bring in a few of those hearts, but this one I just wanted to leave more clean and simple. I'm just going to grab out my Raven ink here and I'm going to stamp the sentiment. Given the pattern paper was so bold, I didn't want to have it stamped or on a banner or anything where it's suggested on the sketch. I'm going to kind of play around with these hearts and decide if I'm going to add them or not. And also I just left this in because it shows you could add them if you wanted to. So here's the two cards I did, one with the hearts and one without, and that's using one pattern paper. So moving on to card number 3, I love this little tomato and the sentiment is so cute. I'm going to use it a number of times. It says, "I love you from my head to my toes." So I'm using this plaid. It almost reminds me of a picnic blanket for the back of the card. Again, using another Queen and Company sketch here for this card. I'm using this quilted, kind of reminds me of a quilted pattern or a fabric, the green pattern paper here as the paper in the middle. And then I cut out 3 of the circles in 3 different sizes using the LDRS stitched circles, lots of S's there to get hung up on. And I cut those out of the bandana-like pattern paper. So I'm going to go ahead and add my tomato to the bottom left on top of that biggest circle, and then I'm going to add the sentiment there, just kind of tucked in by his hand. And then I played around with placement for the top 2 circles there to the right, but ended up putting them very close to how they are in the sketch. So there's a close-up of card number 3, and we can move on to card number 4. So for this one, I loved this veggie pattern paper. I love the black in it, and I think that the veggies stand out so nicely with that black background. So I'm going to go ahead and use the little carrot and the radish. Both of these are really cute. I love all the little expressions on the Veggie Pals from this stamp set. I did go ahead and add my stamp block on top of that pattern paper just to make sure it was good and adhered. I'm using a scalloped rectangle die here to cut out that pattern paper, and it bent a little bit or kind of warped when I put it through my die cut machine. So just added that heavy block with the liquid adhesive, and that straightened it out nicely. Following this sketch pretty closely here from Queen and Company. They have some really great sketches if you're looking for some inspiration for your card designs. The sentiment that I'm using is "You're a 24 karat friend." At first I thought I might just add the carrot only, but I liked it with the addition of the little radish. So moving on to our next card, it will feature the little broccoli. I think he is one of my favorites from this stamp set. And I'm using a very simple sketch design. Now this one is by Sketch Saturday, and any of the sketches where there is hand-drawn measurements on them, those I got from my friend Kristie Marcotte, her blog. And I will leave a link to her blog and her YouTube channel below. She uses a lot of sketches and has done a lot of work to add the measurements onto the sketches as well that don't have them. So I went ahead and used those from her. They're available to anyone on her blog. And so I'm using this nice, clean, and simple design here for our little broccoli, just using a scalloped die here for the back pattern paper of this circle focal point, and then a circle for the white cardstock. I did cut out the banner just myself with my scissors, and card number 5 is complete. We're halfway through and on to card number 6. So this one I decided to use the 2 little avocado, which are super cute, And this sketch here is from Freshly Made Sketches. I think this actually might be one of my all-time favorite card sketch designs. It's super easy, clean and simple. That's probably why I like it so much. But I feel like it's just one of those go-to designs you could use for anything. Now, instead of the sentiment, I decided to use the pocket fence die from LDRS Creative. And then I'm going to add the sentiment, "You complete me," in a speech bubble up top. So again, using some of that green pattern paper just to pick up on the green in the avocados. And then I really loved that light blue pattern paper as well. That also reminds me of a picnic cloth or tablecloth. And on to card number 7, bringing in the dark blue papers here. I'm using this quilt paper, using the same sketch as I did for the last card just because I loved it so much, and I wanted to show you that even though it's a very simple design, it's very versatile and you can get a variety of looks just by switching up your pattern paper. So going with the blue and the yellow theme here, I decided to pick the corn to kind of go off that yellow that's in that quilt pattern again. So I'm going to add 3 of my corns on top of the sentiment, just changing up that sentiment a little bit with a more rounded die that I had in my stash. Stamped out the "You Are Amazing" sentiment again with some navy ink, and then I'm going to add my little corn on top of the sentiment, and that will do it for that quick and simple card. Moving on to card number 8, this is another very simple card design. This is a sketch by MFT. I had some scraps left of both the barn wood pattern and then a little bit left of this veggie pattern paper. So I'm going to add the veggies to the bottom here. I also cut out a stitched heart die to go with this sketch. So this one's really simple, like I said. I just cut the heart out of some cardstock. There wasn't another pattern paper in the collection that I thought would go with this, and I thought the yellow would pick up on the yellow in the veggie pattern paper. I'm going to use a carrot and an avocado here like they're giving each other a high five. And then I went ahead and die cut out my sentiment on some white cardstock, and I'm using that "You're a 24 karat friend" again for this one. I am going to add this sentiment above the avocado here. Just trying to figure out at this point where I wanted it, but I do end up going with it just above the little avocado's head and filling out a little bit more of that space to the right hand side. So now we are moving on to our next card featuring the little tomato. I just couldn't resist him with his little thumb up in the air. So I went ahead and used my second piece of the veggie pattern paper, and I'm using this Freshly Made sketch here for this card. Again, I'm drawn to clean and simple, so it's not surprising that I really like these clean and simple sketches as well. I used some of that red tablecloth pattern that I had left over, and then went ahead and stamped out my sentiment on a stitched circle die cut out of some white cardstock, and this one is done with our little tomato there on top of the sentiment. So for card number 10, I'm using the chicken wire pattern paper as the main background for this MFT sketch, and using up the rest of that veggie pattern paper I had, I'm bringing in the full-size fence die here by LDRS Creative, and I'm just going to have that on top of the veggie pattern paper. I'll trim off those edges that are overhanging, and then I'm going to have my little Veggie Pals here, some in front of the fence and then some on top of the fence, just for a little bit of added fun for this card. And I also wanted to break up that background pattern paper a little bit more. So I'm going to have the broccoli and the radish on the fence and our little carrot and tomato to the front, just kind of trying to break up some of the green. The broccoli is all green, so I just wanted to make sure that he didn't get lost on that more saturated veggie pattern paper there with the black in it, so I thought the carrot and the tomato stood out a little bit more on that darker paper. I did cut out a stitched heart here for the sentiment, which reads, "You're unbeatable," and that finishes off the 10 cards. So I'm going to slow these down and give you a look at all 10 cards again. I hope you enjoyed this video. The pattern paper was really fun to work with, and those little veggies are just too cute for words. So let me know if you had a favorite. I think for me, I really love the corn ones and the avocado as well. And then that little broccoli by himself with the Brock on sentiment just makes me laugh. So I hope these cards made you smile. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you're all doing really well, and I will see you soon in the next video. Here's a couple more videos to keep you busy until I see you again. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.